Breaking, Dreamers marching 250 miles today to rally against Trump cross wrong people's path. Undocumented immigrants' crusade rages on, fired up with more fury than ever before after their hero, Democrat Chuck Schumer, failed on his promise to grant them amnesty during January's government shutdown. When liberals and illegals don't get what they want, they have only one reaction, which Schumer felt the full wrath of immediately after caving on his claim when so-called Dreamers stormed his personal residential street in a fit of rage. That was just the start of more marches, including one they just set out on, which would take them 250 miles on foot to make a point and get to their protesting destination in Washington, D.C. They failed to plan their route well and didn't take one major factor into consideration. As a result, they crossed the wrong people's path, bringing their hateful protests to a brutally abrupt end. Not a single dreamer will be able to make their demand to Congress for amnesty now. As American citizens, we're held certain laws and rules of this land and the consequences that come from it when broken. The same goes to those in this country illegally who want all the benefits of being here without the hassle of the process. Being undocumented doesn't mean the rules don't apply to you. This seems to be a difficult concept for most dreamers to grasp, having illegally and freely entered the country without consequence and now feel like they can go wherever they want and make demands for what they aren't entitled to. Today, these activists with the Kozucha movement just learned a long overdue lesson they had coming when they forced their way on others who didn't want it. Kinukirk of #NoDreamNoDeal tweeted with praise for the effort of these illegal immigrants to take a stand against President Trump and Congress, by sitting down in the street and blocking traffic right outside city limits, just shy of their destination goal. Undocumented youth who walked 250 miles from NY to DC, shutting down the street in front of the U.S. Capitol. They have a simple message: Congress and Trump must stop playing games with our lives. We need the #Dream Act now. Not everyone was so supportive of the human blockade or cared what they were protesting about in the first place. People have places to be and things to do, and they were getting in the way of that. Considering shutting down streets and blocking traffic like this is illegal, all participants were arrested and therefore unable to deliver their message to Congress, which they ignorantly walked 250 miles to do. Welcome to America, hope you like our laws. It's because they don't care for our rules enough to learn our laws. The Dreamers seemed completely perplexed on why they were being arrested. It seems pretty obvious that no matter what country you're in, sitting in the middle of a busy street is not safe and probably also not allowed. That's just simple common sense, but so is driving 250 miles rather than walking. Kozucha supporters described the arrest much differently. 6 activists, including 5 undocumented youth, were arrested Thursday afternoon in a peaceful protest outside the U.S. Capitol and the Supreme Court demanding a Clean Dream Act. The protesters were all participants in the 250-mile walk to stay home from New York City to Washington, D.C., to demand permanent protection for undocumented youth. The 15-day march, which crossed 6 states and inspired solidarity rallies in across the East Coast, concluded with today's demonstration. The walk to stay home marks 6 months since the Trump administration's decision to end Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA, in September, putting hundreds of thousands of undocumented youth at risk of losing their work permits and protection from deportation. Despite repeated public commitments to protect Dreamers, Congress has failed to pass any legislation granting protection to undocumented youth. I walked 250 miles to the Capitol and passed through many communities that opened their homes to us. And yet now that we are here, Congress has closed their door, said Aldo Solano, a DACA recipient from Oregon and one of the arrested protesters. The undocumented community cannot wait for Congress to catch up to our lives. Nobody really cares about the physical journey taken from New York to DC the last couple days when it comes to changing a major policy in this country. If even the biggest liberal politician, Schumer, couldn't even support it at the end of a long government shutdown that he personally perpetuated to achieve amnesty, what makes them think that held by someone in a crosswalk is going to change their minds? If these people really cared about staying in America, they would get up out of the street and to an immigration office to start the process of becoming a legalized citizen.